all about how my ex-boyfriend conspired against me. If he had gotten things to go his way, I wouldn't even be here telling you this story. Let me tell you a bit about Tyrone so you can better understand what happened to me. So, we are both high schoolers, and I immediately took a liking for him when we first met. He asked me out soon after, and I, of course, said yes. We were the cutest couple at school, and everyone wanted to be just like us. He was so hot and charming and took me out on amazing dates. Everything was going great. We had been dating for a bit more than a year. Actually, we had even celebrated our anniversary. Everything was perfect. Or so I thought. One of my friends told me she wanted to speak to me about something, and it was bad news. I was really worried and asked her what was the matter. That was when I discovered that it wasn't something that was happening to her, but rather something that she knew about Tyrone. She let me know that he was cheating on me, and I was so shocked. At first, I refused to believe her. I was so frustrated with her and tried to deny my boyfriend would ever do something like that. He was in love with me, and he'd never cheat on me. I called her a liar and told her to leave my home. But my friend knew that I would react that way, and she had proof. She had taken a few pictures of Tyrone kissing another girl. Worse still, the woman was one of my rivals at school. I couldn't believe my eyes. I was so mad and immediately apologized to my friend. She told me it was all right. It was only natural I wanted to believe my boyfriend was a good guy. She didn't know if she should tell me about it, but it was too messed up to stay quiet about it. I cried all night long, and she stayed by my side. We talked for hours, but my heart was completely broken. There was nothing my friend could do to make me feel better. The very next day, I texted Tyrone and asked him to meet me at my place. When he arrived, I didn't let him inside. I stood on my doorframe and told him I knew all about his cheating ways. Of course, he played it cool and tried to deny it, but I wasn't having it. I showed him the pictures and let him know we were so over. He was mad at me and told me that I would regret it. He left, stomping his feet all the way to his car. The next few weeks were really rough for me. Tyrone never once apologized, and he didn't act sorry at all. Instead, he seemed to be enjoying his new life as a single guy. He was flirting with all the girls in our class and rubbing the fact that he didn't care in my face. I cried myself to sleep almost every single night. All my friends supported me, and they refused to speak to him. Still, there were many other girls that went out on dates with him as if he wasn't the biggest jerk in the world. He was clearly having so much fun without me, and it really hurt. They say time heals every wound, though, and this happened to be true. Little by little, I began feeling better. It was hard, but I eventually got over my cheating ex-boyfriend. Finally, about 3 or 4 months after the breakup, my friends convinced me to go to a party. I needed to unwind and put myself back in the market. They told me it was a really cool pool party and that everyone would be there. When we arrived, though, we realized, to our horror, that it was Tyrone's home. I was in shock and almost refused to get out of the car. I couldn't be at a party thrown by Tyrone. I had just barely managed to get over him and his cheating ways. It would be too hard to be around him there while he flirted with girls in bikinis. My friends convinced me that if I didn't go, he would win. They admitted that they knew the party was there, but that they needed me to finally face reality and let go of my feelings for that loser. So I decided they were right. I didn't care about Tyrone, and he could deal with the fact that I was at his party, looking gorgeous and flirting with whomever I wanted. I was wearing a beautiful bikini and looked amazing. My friends even helped me with my makeup, so you better believe I was a total babe. People were having lots of fun. Everyone was playing games, partying, and eating. Some students were even in the pool, having a great time. The truth of the matter was, I struggled to relax. At first, all I could think about was when I'd get to leave and curl up in my bed. But as the party got more and more fun, I ended up having a blast. I danced with a few guys, giggled with my friends, and had some delicious food. I even decided to get in the pool and enjoy myself for real. The problem was, I had been sleeping only a few hours every night, so I was really tired. I ended up falling asleep on a big inflatable pool bed. It was so relaxing, and I didn't even realize people were beginning to leave. My friends thought I had gone home with a guy I was flirting with, so they didn't think to look for me in the pool. That's when things went south. Tyrone noticed I was sleeping there, and he apparently was still holding a grudge against me. Remember how he told me I'd regret dumping him? Well, he had been waiting for the perfect moment to take his revenge. I always thought he meant he'd keep dating girls while I watched in distress or something like that. I never thought he might try to hurt me for real. He wanted to make sure my life became a living hell, and his mind went into this really dark place. I still can't believe he ever thought his plan was a good idea. Sure, Tyrone was mean and a cheater, but I never thought he was this evil. His parents were really wealthy, so his entire house was super luxurious. The home was a mini mansion, and the pool had a retractable top that slid over it. This helped prevent things from getting in when it wasn't being used. Sure, they had someone who took care of the pool, but this was far easier, especially when they weren't at home. He watched me sleeping there and then just turned on the mechanism that made the top slide over the pool. You must think that his decision was totally insane, and it truly was. He didn't even hesitate. How do I know this? Because he didn't just leave me there for a minute or even an hour just to mess with me. No, he left me there to get rid of me permanently. Yes, I was serious when I said he had tried to make me leave this world for good by trapping me underwater until I couldn't handle it any longer. By the time I woke up, it was already too late to get out. The top was already over the pool, and I was thrown into the water rather violently. I swam up and then tried to reach the part of the pool with the lowest depth. There I could stand up instead of having to swim to keep my head above the water. There were only a few inches between the water and the top, and that was the only place I had to keep my head above the liquid. I completely panicked, truth be told, and began screaming in horror. I think that Tyrone could hear me, though I don't have any proof of this. In my opinion, it was impossible not to notice my shrieks of fear from the living room. He never came to help me, even when the hours slipped by. I screamed so much that my throat began to ache, and it became hard to speak. I had been in there for hours, but no one was listening to my pleas to be saved. It was a terrible situation to find myself in, and I honestly didn't know how to escape my makeshift prison. 90% of my body was trapped underwater, with only my head above it. I felt so claustrophobic and truly thought I'd end up losing my battle to stay alive. I knew that soon I'd run out of oxygen or energy. One way or another, that would be my end. There was no way I could remain standing up indefinitely. I would eventually fall asleep from exhaustion or faint, and then I'd drown. Again, I tried to scream, but I was so hoarse that almost no sound came out. I couldn't comprehend why Tyrone would do something like this. He was the one who cheated on me, and he was enjoying being single. Apparently, he's one of those guys who simply cannot deal with rejection, even when he deserved to be dumped. I don't know how many hours or days I had been trapped in there when I finally felt like I couldn't keep myself afloat for another minute. That was when I heard a miraculous sound. The top was actually beginning to retreat. By that moment, I couldn't even speak. I was so hoarse that even whispering was impossible. I looked up and saw 2 police officers, as well as my best friends, my mom and dad, and a couple of paramedics. They pulled me out and took me to an ambulance. There, the doctors examined me and they began treating my symptoms. I was apparently suffering from hypothermia and had several complications related to the hell I had just been put through. My friends were so worried, but the doctors recommended they give me some time. My mom came with me in the ambulance, and Dad followed us in our car. Soon we arrived at the hospital, and they continued treating me. I ended up staying there for over a week. When the doctor told her I was strong enough to handle the news, she told me how my friends had been looking all over for me. They ended up suspecting Tyrone and told my parents about it. They called the police, but it took some time to convince them that my ex was capable of doing something nasty to me. When they found me in there, no one could believe Tyrone had taken his revenge to such lengths. He was immediately apprehended and his parents were horrified. It's been a few weeks since the attack, and I still visit a shrink 3 times a week. I'm recovering from severe PTSD and struggle to leave my house. The judge handling my case has decided that Tyrone should be tried as an adult. Even his parents have come over to apologize. I don't think anyone is supporting him after what he did to me. It was a horrible experience, but I survived it, and I am determined to move on with my life. Thank you for watching. Have you ever dealt with a vengeful ex-partner? Tell us about it in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe